What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Creed of Crypto. How you doing? I am Broke Boy Crypto. I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host Crypto Ewok. Welcome into all of you. We've got new viewer user in the house. I enjoy your username. Valiant Low Key is here. We've got John S, Marco, Marcello as well. Marcello, you let me know how you pronounce that. Marco, Joe Perry from Aerosmith in the house again. Yeah, we've got some major news happening here just as we hit. If you are not on the Twitter X's, whatever we call it now, the OA, the Hex Origin Address, is making some moves, some big moves, staking massive amounts of Hex in the hundreds of billions amounts for the next week, like short-term stakes. So we're going to get into what that means. We didn't even have that planned because we have so much other stuff to talk about. Obviously, over the last week, the launch of Pump.tires, the clone of Pump, not clone, but I mean a better version, really, once you look into it, and we'll talk about that here tonight, of Pump Fun from Solana, launching on a PulseChain. Stealth on Saturday night. Lots of people totally confused by it, thinking this is a hack, what's going on here, including someone on the show that I think is wrong about a couple of other things, but we're going to get into that. We have a huge debate, probably the biggest argument that you'll ever see between Ewok and I a little bit later here tonight, so stay tuned for some fireworks if you want to see that. But yeah, a special week indeed, supposedly coming up here for PulseChain. We've seen some very bullish news. Obviously, we're going to get to the SEC stuff. We've got some shakeups there. We have some guy that, I don't know, he became a janitor or something that used to be one of the SEC's lawyers today, is now doing some kind of mop work. I forget exactly what it is, but they moved him around. So we've got a shit ton to talk about. Ethereum is, gutted, dead beyond belief, or whatever turn around. I'm pretty much done hoping, but yeah, that's what we've got on the table tonight. So welcome into all of you. Please peg the like button on your way in. We appreciate all of you guys being here. We started a couple minutes early because there's so much to get to. Ewok, how are you feeling about all this crazy crypto drama here tonight?
Just making my head spin, man. It's crazy. There's just so much going on. There's so much things to pay attention to, and people to follow or not follow, and believe and see who they really are, and
right, or
are not.
Right.
And it's politics on top of it. All that stuff is going on as well. Gutting the government, and people just freaking out because now Elon has control of everybody's information, and it's just funny to see. It's like the world is on fire according to some people, and according to the others, it's like, let's go. This is what we signed up for. It's just funny. It's to see both sides of what's going on in just about everything that we're kind of looking at. Yeah. So been a fascinating couple days anyway. That's for sure.
We've talked about that concept in private and on the show before, and not even just with crypto, but politics, life happenings, whatever it is. People are just on their own timelines and own algorithms, and it does not fucking matter what the objective truth is, if there is one. I mean, everybody has their own truth, I guess, but it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, we've talked about before with the, what if PulseChain does this? What if Hex does this and reaches these new heights and the case is dismissed and Richard's totally vindicated? There will be people that call him, for example, a scammer the rest of their lives, no matter what. There's nothing that could happen. It's just,
doesn't matter.
Yeah, there are people that will say, despite what's happening right now, that Bitcoin is dead and going to negative prices when it goes back down to like whatever 80K, 90K in the bear market or something like that. So, yeah, that's just kind of how it goes. So welcome into all of you guys. Let's start with Bitcoin and Ethereum. So we are in a little bit midst of a dip right now. I mean, it's been all Bitcoin this cycle. I mean, we've had Solana have their scam year of 2024, which we'll get into tonight, but it's been all Bitcoin. Everything else is pure and utter trash. This industry is a fucking joke, and led by Ethereum, which is just dead. I mean, as dead as it can be. I am done calling and hoping for a bottom on Ethereum. We've been doing it for about 6 months now. We've been looking for sentiment bottoms, price bottoms. It continues to bleed against BTC. I'm done with it. So maybe me being done with it and not giving a shit about it anymore will make it go up. I don't know. But Bitcoin is at about 96.5K right now, just chilling out. I mean, it's perfectly fine where it is. I sent a message to you and Dejin Moonboy the other night. It was so funny. Like, so many people on the Twitter timeline were like, panicking and depressed and all this stuff about the industry as a whole and Bitcoin and stuff like that, when Bitcoin just closed its highest close in month close in history in January. So pretty amazing for Bitcoin. Ethereum, of course, on the other hand, is, I don't know what else there is to say. I mean, it's pathetic. It's a 2750. Its ratio went down to about 0.23 the other night. It went down, wicked to like 2K, 2100 the other night on Saturday when everybody was panicking. And then Bitcoin just goes right back up the next day and there's no issues at all. Actually, I think it was Saturday, Sunday, everything was totally on fire. But yeah, that's where we are. It's February 5th. Bitcoin looks fine. It has looked fine. I'm sure Bitcoin maxis are very happy with the cycle, obviously, so far. But continuing to buy into that massive of a trend of dominance, I think, is not going to be the optimal move from here on out for anybody. And even though Ethereum looks like there's no end in sight at bleeding, this thing's going to turn around at some point. I do think it's out the window that it's going to get back to any kind of a good ratio against BTC this cycle, though. I just don't. I think that some of people's hopes for Ethereum being crazy this cycle, I think, are gone. I do think that the better BTC does, obviously, the better ETH will do. I just don't think that its ratio against BTC is going to be that great. I'm even painting a scenario where we could still get a 15 to 20K ETH, but it might require Bitcoin at 250K or something like that, which there are people that totally believe. I mean, there's people that totally believe that, or 300K Bitcoin, and you would still have a crazy good Ethereum price by then, but its ratio would not be as good as it traditionally has gotten against BTC. So yeah, anyway, I'm sure you have some thoughts on those things.
Well, yeah, this was on actually Sunday into Monday, this candle that went from basically 2,900 all the way down to 2,100 within, the day. It did recover right back before it closed. But just that kind of movement from 2,800 down to 2,100 back up to 2,850 or so. Within one candle, that looks like major manipulation of some sort. I don't know if it was a bunch of shorts or longs that got liquidated. I'm not sure what exactly happened, but it just looks like complete fuckery to me. If you don't mind me being honest, I mean, it's just. It looks like something weird, and it could be because of the ETFs. It could be there's a lot of people that want Ethereum that are trying to suppress the price, and I really think that's what's going on. You got Vitalik doing weird stuff. I
mean, that's not new necessarily, but
that's not new. The Ethereum Foundation continues to sell as well. So there's all kind of things that are just making this look weird that could provide us with one hell of a comeback. I really think Ethereum is still a strong coin, a strong buy. But it's been crazy to watch this. It takes some brass balls to be getting in, is basically what I'm saying. And usually that's how the people that make the most money make the most money.
Right.
So, it's just been on this crazy downturn with Bitcoin taking the power. I do believe it's because of BlackRock, because of the ETF, MicroStrategy. They're not going to be a company that, I don't know. Just knowing Michael Saylor and knowing his kind of belief, saying that there is only one coin and that's Bitcoin.
As long as it's at new all-time highs, then
right. So I don't know what their take will be, but you've got BlackRock, you've got MicroStrategy, you've got a lot of big things buying, big corporations and whatnot buying the Bitcoin, holding that up to 96,000 right now. But the Ethereum is just not seeing that kind of power or adoption, so to speak, from mainstream quite yet. So I think it will come. But yeah, I mean, let's look at this ratio is just, it's it's still 0.028, which it's been holding in that 0.02, 0.03 area now since, the whole way back to October, at least. I mean, and we go further, it was 0.04. So yeah, I mean, it's fluctuated between 0.04 and 0.03. We did we are into the 0.028 right now. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, you said it earlier. I agree completely with you. As we're getting tired of trying to call an ETH bottom here, because could this have been it? This 21 100 dip that we saw on Sunday, Monday, very well, but who knows with the amount of manipulation that looks to be happening. So just going to have to see, kind of keep an eye on it. It will turn around. We are getting into that part of the cycle now where things can really take off at any time and rather quickly. So
what you said is well said, I think. Yeah, the manipulation part. I mean, and I'm not. I mean, who knows what they could be doing? We know the Trumps have been buying up Ethereum now for weeks at crazy clips, which has been awesome because we talked about it the other week when he launched the Trump coin and all that. It basically was the top marker of Solana. And then, he sells a bunch of his profits, rotates it into Ethereum, which was awesome just to see Solana kind of get cucked finally like that. And Eric Trump obviously tweeting about Ethereum the other day. I mean, like they're clearly, that's where their money is lying. I mean, they own like twice the Ethereum that they do Bitcoin at this point.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's where the gains are. I mean, that's where people are going to see the more X's. I mean, you buy one Bitcoin at 100,000 right now, you got to get 200,000 for a 2X, right? People see Ethereum at least getting to 10. There's a 3, if not 20. There's a 6. I just think your risk versus your reward is much greater with Ethereum and the outcome. But it is what it is. We'll see how it all plays out. But I still think the Ethereum buy right now is a better return.
Yeah, well, certainly better than Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean, I think its heights that it can reach against Bitcoin this cycle are not going to be up to people's hopes. But if Bitcoin continues to have a good cycle, I mean, we're going to see Ethereum raise in USD value, which is still good. So, so that is that. That's where we're at with the major two cryptos there. With the PulseChain ecosystem here. So we're having some really interesting stuff happen right now before our eyes. We're going to get into exactly why. Maybe this price conversation will even just lead right into it. But PulseChain, the whole ecosystem fell with the rest of crypto over the weekend. And then also the dilution effect kind of with the stealth launch of Pump.tires. I keep going to call it a clone. I don't want to call it that because there's very important mechanisms within it that make it better than Pump Fun on Solana. But basically, if you're not aware of what those are, they're basically meme coin generators. Tommy calls them JPEGs. I mean, it's literally like the trashiest shit meme coins you could ever imagine, and you can just real cheaply just go on and mint one, whatever you want to do. But we do know that a wallet that looks like it's tied to Richard Hart did create what I want to say a couple handfuls, maybe 10 of them or so, with the top ones being the most token, most wanted, the Pump token, the actual token of the ecosystem. And then I know that best token is getting shilled a lot out there, but a few other ones too. We'll get into that in a minute, but we did see the prices of the whole ecosystem drop like drastically, especially other meme coins like Tangang coins, the PDI ecosystem, all that stuff just absolutely tanked. And I wasn't really worried about any of that because it was so clear that the effect of this news was just having an effect on those memes. I don't want to call it PDI meme, but you know what I'm saying. And then, of course, they're starting to bounce back now and stuff. And here we go. 72 hours in, we're seeing this stuff on Pump.tires dump that everybody's been tweeting incessantly about for 3 days. That's because they're pumping dumps usually. I'm not, and again, I didn't mean to get into this yet. I'm not against that. We'll talk about that in depth, but you have to be careful on these types of platforms is all I'm trying to say. But anyway, so where we are with the prices. So Pulse is just about 50% off SAC right now, 4 zeros, 496. We have Pulse X at 4 zeros and a 3. Hex is ripping right now, big time, because of the news that we just saw in the last hour of the Hex origin address making massive 1 week stakes. So there's people speculating what this means. And of course, like always, there's people on this end of the spectrum that are 100% like, this is what's happening and this is exactly what's going to happen. And then there's people over in the polar opposite end and they're at odds with each other and fighting and they're both probably wrong. But that's where we are with Pulse X. But yeah, the Hex is 1.4 cents roughly on Hex, and then EHEX done a 2x in a day. Basically it's at 00364 right now, incentive token $1.44. So in terms of the overall ecosystem, we saw it kind of move with the rest of the market starting to come back up. here now that everything else is. But where do you want to look at here, Ewok? Because I don't know how much we want to get into like just looking at the pulse chart, but if you want to maybe look at EHEX, and then we can get into hex or EX, just one of the hexes, whatever you want to do here. And then we'll get into like what this news is that we've just kind of gotten over the last hour here that might be making this pump happen.
Yeah, well, the last this is the daily. Let's look at the hourly chart. I mean, there's your hourly for for hex. This is p hex obviously. So, you know, in the last two, where are we at here? 136. Yeah, 23% basically in the last hour. So
Yep.
hour and a half. Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of mechanics involved when a large hex stake is made like that. So
why don't we just, before you say it, can we bring up one of the tweets that kind of is comprehensive about this so far? Because I know it's only happened within the last hour, and then we can actually talk about. Let me see what the best one.
I'll bring up the first one that I saw was Crypto Vince.
Yeah, but he didn't have all the news at first. I mean, shout out to him for doing that. This dirty crypto one's not bad. He has it's more up to date. I sent it to you a little while after that, 5:36 p.m.
I think this is it.
Yeah, so shout out Dirty Crypto. So and he's not the only one to tweet this, but it's the one that I saw. The Hex OA just moved 250 million units of Hex. Actually, it's billion, isn't it? It'd be 250 billion. Yeah.
250 billion.
Yeah, worth 571 million to another wallet, transferred 1 ETH to it and staked it. This immensely dilutes Hex on Ethereum staker yield. Perhaps it's a signal to slowly move over to Hex on PulseChain. So there's a lot of people with that last sentence there that vehemently think that. I mean, I think Crypto Vents actually said, like, this is it. He's killing EHEX or whatever. And there's other people.
That was the first thing that was said. Yeah, they're and you know all the EHEX haters jumped on the bandwagon. Oh yeah, this is it, totally it. And then the next thing you know, what do we see? Well, he does the same damn thing on PulseChain.
Yeah, that's what we didn't. Yeah.
Right. So it's just quite interesting how you know, it's funny how the flip-floppers are the ones that have to be right about their opinion on the EHEXP. So here we go. We're getting back into the EHEX-PHEX battle again. Probably we'll see that for a week until the OA does whatever it does, which is interesting. We need to talk about that. Like, what do we think is going to happen?
Yeah, well, let me get, we don't even have to look at the charts too much and look at the hex chart. I mean, basically it's mooning right now off of this news, but I want to get your take, and I think you can present a couple good ideas here as to why the OA might be doing this. So these are massive stakes, obviously. And again, you're right. It's not in this tweet, but it was not just EHEX. Then he did the same thing, or them did the same thing with Hex on Pulse. The they-them thing was a joke. One time I did that before, and somebody's like, don't say that. It's too woke. Yeah, that's the joke. Dumb. But yeah, then he turned around and did the same thing on PulseChain. So what do you make of this? And then another layer that we're going to get into a little later, right in lockstep with that, what I think is the official Pump.tires account that is at Pump.tires win, which reminds me of another Twitter account, tweeted that, hey, I'm feeling really good and something amazing is happening, probably going to happen in a week from now and all this stuff. Just happening to coincide with this week-long stake. So what do you make every layer of this? What is going on? Because this news just broke an hour ago.
So when you make a stake that large, it does a couple things. It will dilute the payout for a lot of people. And I know Dip Catcher has been one that has been adamant about this. There's too much yield. There's too much being paid out. It's diluting the whole thing. And he's been going on and on about this for several weeks now. So that happens. So your payout goes down. But what also happens is once it ends, the share rate will skyrocket. So it's going to take probably, well, I don't know. I haven't run the math to see or figure out. But essentially it could at least 1.2, the share rate, 1.3, maybe even more. I'm not really sure. Again, I haven't done the math, but so after that stake ends, it's going to cost you that much more, because what it does, the share rate gets adjusted so that the short stakers that do this frequently, like 1 week, 1 month, whatever it is, they can't outpace the early and long stakers. So what happens is the share rate goes up like crazy. So it's going to cost you that much more now after that to get the same amount of T shares that it would have. So there's a couple things. There's been people speculating that this could early end stake, like once it starts, which it would have to wait till I guess it will roll over here and it'll be live in a few minutes.
7 o'clock. Yeah.
Right. So it'll be live. Could they emergency end stake it to pay out the stakers? That's possible, but not likely. They don't probably like to give out a bunch of free yield for no reason. It could just not end the stake and bleed out slowly over time, but that could be stopped also by anybody running the good accounting function.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not likely. That could stop. So what's the purpose? Is the yield going to be used for something else? We all know that on the Pump.tires thing, there was a hex created in the midst of all that too. Is there something going on with that hex? Like, there's just all kind of possibilities that are out there. But the one thing that it's definitely going to do is increase the share rate and take supply off the market. So when you make a stake, it removes that hex. It gets effectively burnt. So it doesn't even exist anymore. So those hex, once this goes live, are not in the circulating supply anymore. They only get created then whenever it gets ended and the new hex with the yield is minted. So I don't know if there's a play as far as the market cap goes, because we know none of that really matters. Obviously, we've never really cared about market cap because nobody's ranked us correctly since the beginning anyway. Right. So that's probably not the thing. So yeah, I mean, it just raises a lot of questions, but again, the one thing it does is definitely makes it harder to get the T shares. We know that for a fact. That's certainty. That will happen no matter what. So yeah, that's where we're at.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what does happen with this in a week. I do think there are other plans up the sleeve of someone that we aren't, fully aware of yet. Maybe the more people think about this in game theory, I'm sure the minute we get off the air, start perusing Twitter, there's going to be people all over the place with, theories and good thoughts on it and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, there's clearly something going on. There's been a lot of excitement coming from Richard on Twitter this week about things that he thinks may be coming. He's not necessarily alluding to them all, but I mean, we have seen major news come out crypto regulatory wise from the SEC, from the White House, all kinds of different things here. There was just a press conference the other day that David Sachs had and stuff like that. So he's clearly a little bit giddy about some things that could be happening really soon that have lended everybody to think like, hey, are we on the verge of the SEC case finally being dismissed? But we continue to not get any news on that. So we'll get to those topics in a moment. But yeah, I mean, as far as like the ecosystem price wise, we'll kind of finish off prices. I mean, we're still consolidating. Pulse is still consolidating in that same range. Hex, obviously, I'm sure it's breaking through some barriers here with this move up, especially EHEX right now. I mean, EHEX has, gone up 60% in a day now. So it definitely has come through some key areas. Hex has moved up, just not as drastically. So
right.
We're still hanging out here. And again, I mean, to go back to the first conversation we had, we are all slaves to Ethereum. I mean, and this is a soapbox I just want to get on for a minute. It is not just PulseChain. People, I think because we're just in this echo chamber and everybody is within PulseChain, people think that like we're the only ones struggling or something. Like the whole altcoin industry is fucked right now. I mean, like nobody is doing well. Like you look at like, and here's our benefit. We don't have VCs ready to dump on us. We are 100% in DeFi, can't be bought on an exchange or anything like that. It's still harder to get into the ecosystem. It's low liquidity, and things can move up pretty quickly. So we are the complete inverse of all the other traps that people have access to that are still down only for the last 4 years. Like if you look at CoinMarketCap and some of these ranking sites and stuff. Like I was looking at Polkadot the other day, and some of these things are butchered. They're 10, 15x away from what their highs were in 2021. I mean, they're nowhere near anything. They don't even have, the leadership is gone off making some other new project now. Nobody gives a shit about it. I mean, like, it's just, I totally understand. Like, it has been a very difficult last few years. And I mean, we've been along for the ride. It's been very, very difficult, and things haven't been fun. Even with all this good news happening right now, we're still not seeing the price move up yet. And it's Ethereum's $2,700. Like, what are you going to do? I mean, in a way, you can relax a little bit on looking at PulseChain charts all the time and incessantly checking stuff every day, and just check ETH once a week if you want to, and go back to bed, because, I mean, as long as it's doing what it's doing, not going to move up too quickly. But I mean, we still have a long way to go. I mean, we could have literally a calendar year here of things to happen. So,
well, and we've got so much good news, anticipated good news coming. I mean, we've got all kind of stuff that we're just waiting on, and it's only a matter of time, I really think, until the other shoe drops and things just go crazy. It's starting to feel like that now, but it just, that other shoe hasn't dropped, right? So either the end of the case or the continuance of the case, one of the two, whatever it may be, you get all the new stuff coming out from the legislature, or from the SEC, I should say, saying, well, we're going to reclassify some stuff, and here's what it looks like. So there's that. There's just so much excitement. I feel that it's like, just it's ready to boil over, and at some point it's just going to take off. I mean, that's kind of where we're at in this whole mess of things. Things are all coming to a head right now, and it's going to be fun to just watch how it plays out, and people are going to kind of be left holding a bag that we're waiting for something, and get left behind, or they're just going to be watching and taking screenshots of their portfolio every day.
Yeah, no, you are right. We've gotten so much bullish news, like, official news that has happened. It's just that the price isn't moving yet. So we'll have to keep following along here. It is 2025. I mean, I know everybody's impatient, but I mean, we are in the home stretch here. So at least that's what I keep telling myself. So we shall see. If you guys are enjoying the stream so far, do us a favor, peg that like button. We appreciate all you being here. Crypto7 shout out is in our chat tonight, so welcome in. We've got Fryman or Freeman here as well. Levi Davis, Arrow Point, Doji. Welcome in, guys. Yeah, crazy week.
Crypto7 had some really nice stuff to say about us on his one of his last streams. We appreciate it, man. Thank you for the support. As always.
Yes, he did. So shout out to him. He's been putting out lots of content, obviously, lately, as always, really. So shout out to him as well. He's been here the whole, people say a lot of negative things about a lot of us, but say what you will. I mean, we've been here. You know what I mean? Crypto7's been here through the bear market. Not many people stick through the tough times. So, as long as you do, then it's pretty admirable, I think. So, so we've had some news in the last couple of days about the crypto regulation stuff. So Tuesday was the David Sachs Crypto Czar White House press conference. It really was nothing that crazy. I mean, he continued to just talk bullish stuff about his thoughts on crypto, referred to a lot of things that people hold as collectibles and things like that. I don't think there was anything like earth shattering that he said that he hasn't already alluded to. And then Richard actually tweeted about that a day in advance. Basically just talking about things looking really positive for crypto versus the SEC. But the bigger news that came out, and maybe this is what Richard was more so alluding to, because this ended up happening. So from Hester Pierce and the SEC, if you find the Nuclear Herbs one that links that whole, whatever you would want to call it, article or document that the SEC put out, it was from Nuclear Herbs, and he actually put the link to it in there. Got it? Okay. So, yeah, there it is. I don't know how long this is or if we can read the whole thing, but there are some key points that Hester Pierce pointed out that seem to directly affect Richard's case. So, Nuclear Herb says there are many positive comments in here. Check out paragraph 3, coin and token offerings, and think about how that would immediately apply to the lawsuit against Richard. So, we can actually just go ahead and read that part if you're able to bring up that doc. I don't know if it already maybe popped up on another. Oh, there you go. Oh Christ! I'm not reading that. Let's see here.
It's long.
So
he said the third paragraph.
Yeah, I see the word third already. If you scroll down, keep going. They literally started off third. The task force is that actually it?
I don't think so.
Wait a minute. Don't move. Hold on. Where in the hell is it? I saw a screenshot of it from somebody else too, because this thing is just boy.
Yeah, it's a lot of reading.
I think it might be that one that starts with second, actually. If you zoom in a little bit, if you're able to do a little control, yeah. So second, it took us a long time to get into this mess. It's going to take us a long time to get out of it. This is Pierce talking, I believe. The commission has engaged with the crypto industry in one form or another for the decade. The first big blah, 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 blah. Since then, there have been many enforcement actions, a number of no action letters, some exemptively, endless talks about crypto and speeches and statements, lots of meetings and blah, blah, blah. But basically, they've taken no action, is I guess what she's trying to say. Let's see here. This isn't it. Scroll up a little bit because he did say third paragraph. So maybe I should just actually count the paragraphs here. What the hell is this? When I was a child? What is this? Who's writing this?
Commissioner Pierce.
All right. I don't know what she's talking about when she was a kid.
Let's scroll down. Maybe it's here. Here we go. This is the third point. Maybe this is coin token conference.
You're right.
Yep.
You're right. My bad.
Here
So the task force is also is thinking about the possibility of recommending commission action to provide temporary perspective and retroactive relief. Hold that term in mind because I think that's interesting. Retroactive relief for coin or token offerings for which the issuing entity or some other entity willing to take responsibility provides certain specified information, keeps that information updated, and agrees not to contest the commission's jurisdiction in the event of a case alleging fraud in connection with the purchase and sale of the asset. These tokens would be deemed to be non-securities, and thus there would be no uncertainty as to whether they would be able to trade freely on secondary markets not registered with the SEC, as long as the information is kept up to date and accurate. This approach would bridge the gap until a more permanent rule or legislation could be finalized. It would provide a pathway for existing tokens to find their way out of the fog of uncertainty, and that obscures a feasible path forward and would encourage the provision of greater disclosure. So what do you make of this? Because it certainly sounds like people that they have harmed and wronged, like our ecosystem, XRP, they've sued Coinbase, but I mean, they've hurt, we know ours obviously more than anything, and they've hurt PulseChain and Hex very, very badly for 2 years now, pretty much. So what do you make of this? And I'm particularly intrigued by that retroactive relief thing. What do you make of this? What does this sound like to you?
Well, the first thing that jumped out at me was let's back up. The argument in Richard's case, the first thing they have to do is prove jurisdiction. Otherwise, the case has to be dismissed if they don't have jurisdiction. So the first thing that jumped out at me was the fact that they want people to agree not to contest the commission's jurisdiction, and then kind of will give you retroactive relief, right? Now, does that put us into a bad position if we do that? Because was Richard maybe looking to countersue? There's a possibility there. So if you think that was part of it, then you definitely wouldn't want to agree to not contest their jurisdiction. So it puts us in a weird spot. Do you take it and say, all right, well, I guess this makes us okay until there's another administration that wants to come after us again, and then we're back at square one, right? So that was my thought. It could be a good thing. I mean, but again, you don't want to give people power. I really think we want to set precedent. I think we want to have some sort of clarity on this Richard Heart ecosystem come out of this, and not just have a blanket, okay, here you go for now. I just don't think that's a good idea. He spent a ton of money and time with these lawyers that are the dream team, and I think they've been backed into a corner at this point. And I don't think giving up on it and saying, "Yeah, okay, they're gonna let us slide for now," is a good approach. I just That's my opinion. Now, I mean, there's a lot of people that are waiting for a bull run, waiting for good news, that would probably disagree with me. But I really think that you've got to have some sort of precedent that gets set and and put on the books, on the law books, that says this is this and this is what was decided. And that way you can't fight it again if another administration were to come in and try and start roping people up again and pushing people against the wall and saying we're gonna change this all again. Then you have law, you have case law that says no, you can't, not to this one, because we've already got this in writing as part of a part of case law that proves precedent, and no, you can't come after us again. So that was my first take when I read this paragraph.
It is an interesting proposition you bring up about whether, do you want flat out, you're not going to get a ruling from any judge on this case as to the definitive final answer of are these securities? Was it fraud? Because we haven't even gotten to that point. No hearing has taken place that had anything to do with what the corrupt SEC's bullshit original complaint was. I mean, nothing
Right.
about it has even been acknowledged. All that we've had is a motion to dismiss hearing, and we're now over 90 days out from that. It happened on Halloween. So, yeah, it's one thing I was just going to say, and I think we're getting to the point here where the herding of the investors in this ecosystem has gone on for way too long now, and I don't want to blame the judge at this point because I think she is probably sifting through. Actually, I bet she wishes she could have gotten a ruling out by now if I
Yeah.
were to bet on it. And there's been all of these overhauls. She knows this administration is changing. She is seeing that the SEC literally just today, the news was that we're going to get to 50 crypto specific, I believe it was, attorneys were reassigned. They got rid basically of 50 crypto attorneys, which I think was basically the whole task force. I think I read that was most of their entire allotment to crypto. The main guy that's now, I think they said he's in janitorial work or something like that. They moved
IT.
Yeah, IT. There you go. Which is it's still weird though. But they moved. He was involved in, like you told me, in the Ripple and Coinbase case. So he was one of their big time attorneys. So I'm imagining Judge Carroll is seeing that all this is happening and is maybe getting some word from the SEC and is maybe afraid to render a decision. Which, look, I've said this a million times. I think you agree, Ewok. Even though it's not what we would want, and it would definitely not be the end of the world. I thought that maybe parts of their complaint she would dismiss and let the rest of it move forward. So if she's waiting to not do that, to drag us out for, she's going to set another court date 90 days down the road for the next hearing or whatever to take place. Why do that if it looks like that the SEC is just going to give this thing up? But the thing is, we haven't gotten these wheels are moving a little bit slowly here, even though we are just 2 weeks into Trump's administration. The SEC is reforming. We are starting to see these things happen, but we don't have any definitive word yet that it's hey, this lawsuit is dropped. I do think Richard feels confident of something happening here, though. I mean, it certainly seems that way with the way that he's been speaking. I'm sure he would never say something out of turn or anything like that, but his attorneys are not dumb. He's not dumb. The SEC is also airmailing kind of what they're doing here a little bit. So he seems to be very confident. I just don't know in what form we're going to have this happen, but we're over 90 days since this damn hearing took place and we still don't have anything. And it's just getting kind of preposterous.
Well, so this is really out of the norm. For most, they say a ruling comes out 60 to 90 days. But that average never includes change of administration, all these things changing in the middle of a judge trying to make a decision. She's getting all this stuff thrown at her now that she also has to take into consideration that could have probably, she could have had 17 of 20 pages written, and now this, and now essentially has to start over. Go back and look at it now with this in mind, instead. So maybe she's just waiting for them to come out with something set before they continue to make changes. Like, because every day we're seeing something new. And I think maybe she's waiting for them to just put a pause on the new things, or get things figured out with the staff of what's going on, who's in charge of what for sure, where all the lawyers are going to be gone. Now, I heard there was over 1,000 SEC lawyers.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think I thought there were closer to 100 that were based on crypto. So this was like half of them. I could be wrong, but I did read that somewhere, or I thought I did. So yeah, I mean, what cases are getting dropped? What's continuing? I think there's a lot of things that they just need to figure out. And this is not one of the normal 60 to 90 day responses that are part of just, normal everyday business. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, if them assigning all their attorneys in crypto cases to other things isn't a sign, I don't know what else is. I just don't know. Maybe Nuclear Herbs would have to say this. I guess it would just be the SEC as an entity withdrawing the lawsuit. But in what way will this officially take place? How will this end? I mean, we have to have some mechanical way that this thing comes to some sort of an end. And I do think that's what we're headed for. And I understand what you said, Ewok, about I want a definitive, I want this into case law. I want, so, because you kick the can down the road.
right.
And, and we could be looking at in 4 years, I don't know, President Buttigieg, or I don't know, pick your corrupt leftoid, but we could have that. I don't think we will. I get the vibe that that Vance might start to carry the Republican Party, and that maybe we'll still see them in power here. But I get what you're saying, though. You don't want to kick the can down the road. And, a lot of us are probably like, hey, I'm invested now. That's another 4 years away. I don't want to get into that shit. I don't care. I just want this thing out of the way. And I understand that sentiment. Actually, it's probably the side I lie on, because I'm also wondering if just crypto, 4 years is a long time in crypto. And we may get so far in terms of things that are happening, how widely accepted it is. Democrats are probably going to have to open up to it more. They were already starting to. And maybe we do just see that they're leaving it alone more. Like in 4 years, it's a little bit more widely accepted. So maybe you can kind of have your cake and eat it too, by not necessarily getting the case law, but people are just like, okay, this stuff is here to stay, and whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, in that case, then I guess we would look for a dismissal without prejudice, or something like that, where they do just drop it and they can't bring it back up. And I think if that is the case, she may have to really cross all her T's, dot all her I's, to make sure that there was no
lowercase J's too.
Yeah, all of that good stuff. Make sure all the dots are in place. But I think maybe just have to verify that there is no fraud taking place, and that would take quite a bit of research, probably. So yeah, I mean, that would be the preferred ending of it, is just a dismissal. But then again, you get into that jurisdiction thing, is what they're trying to do. That also plays into taxes, right? I mean, if the whole tax rule goes into effect, where coins based in the United States are subject to zero income tax, well, then we kind of want jurisdiction to be in the United States. So if it's not,
I don't think that's going to happen, by the way. But
I don't either. But maybe not this time around. But depending on what kind of tax overhaul does happen, it could happen down the road, right? So we get one or the other. They don't have jurisdiction, and it's got to be dismissed, or they do have jurisdiction, and now it's considered a United States token. So
yeah,
you've got one or the other, and both of them are a win, technically, if that's the case for taxes down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, we shall see. I think Eric Trump, what pisses me off about that story, and I know we didn't get a chance to get into that last week, Eric Trump speculated about that. What I don't like is Yahoo and all these other shit outlets basically took it as gospel and wrote headlines as if it's already going into effect and stuff like that. Like totally misrepresented it. And frankly, it wouldn't be good. I mean, like, I understand it. There's like, it goes back to the whole, like, crypto is not separated by country. Like, you just can't do that. This stuff is on the blockchain. Like, I understand it's like, oh yeah, don't tax stuff in America and stuff like that. That's fine. But I mean, like, this is the blockchain. It's not in or out of America. I mean, you could say that about like Ripple, like, since they're actually more of an entity, I mean, like, sure. But when it comes to stuff that literally is only, like, you can't say that about Bitcoin. You can't say it about Ethereum. You can't say it about PulseChain. Like, it just, there's no way to do that,
Right.
So
yeah, you would definitely have to generalize it and say just no tax on crypto, no matter where it's from. Because,
sounds good to me.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm all for it.
Well, there's a couple clicks of a button on Coinly that can kind of make that happen. It's just a matter of what happens after you do that. So
subject to audit.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So bullish stuff. I mean, like, good stuff coming from the SEC there. We'll see. I mean, it's great. It sounds fantastic. I love seeing the news. It's just like nothing really matters when prices are, Ethereum. I hate to keep going back to it, but Ethereum is still where it's at right now. And I just want to see that stuff start to move. So we shall see if it does. If you guys are here still and enjoying this stream, it's a good one tonight. We got a lot of stuff going on. Hit the like button. We appreciate all you guys being here. Just had some more good dudes drop in. We had RH Max come in, Daddy Hexler, and some more. So Jim Horton, welcome in, guys. We appreciate you guys being here. All right, so I guess we might as well get into step-by-step what happened with the Pump.tires launch over the weekend and just what we feel the goal is here with this happening out of nowhere. RH tweeted about it. It was very odd. I mean, nobody saw that and was just like, oh, just another ho-hum Richard Hart tweet. I mean, this is the kind of thing he does. The guy doesn't like link sites like that. You know what I mean? When it comes to crypto. And I sent it to you and you were like, oh, I think he's probably hacked. And you were the only one. I mean, a lot of people were saying it. And then he continued to tweet about it. And I don't remember all of the tweets. You can bring up some of the initial ones. I think I sent them to you. But this kind of just stealth launched on Saturday night. We saw a selection of tokens that were already created, including the most wanted token, which is probably by far the best meme that's been created on the chain. The actual pump token and stuff like that. So some interesting stuff there, but many thought this was a hack. Clearly it was not. Multiple coins created already associated with the main wallet. If you want, and there were a lot of opinions on this at first. I'm trying to get my mind. It's so much has happened in the last 3 days that I'm having trouble getting my mind back into what people were thinking when this first happened. But so RH at some point tweeted, Pump.tires code brings adoption, ease of use, fresh eyes, and excitement to a superior ecosystem, leading people to PulseX and PulseChain. If you prefer, people launch their coins with native liquidity. And here is the key. So here is, I think there's two main reasons that he did this, and we can get into this. But number one, I think it is good when somebody realizes that their vision has to change a little bit. And Richard Hart isn't a meme lord now and only cares about memes and thinks that everything else is bullshit. I'm not saying anything like that. But kudos to anyone who is able to eventually change their mind. That's why when people like, I hear Joe Rogan talk about this often, and I do agree with him on this, is like, I hate the term of flip-flopping. It's like, no, I gained more information and I learned more, so I changed my opinion. Yeah. Now politicians, of course, do lie, but with Richard, it's like, all right, I just witnessed 2024 was a complete shit show, but meme cycle on Solana and stuff like that. With this chain, and there's many other things up his sleeve that we know about, and that are far more bullish than Pump.tires, but in addition to needing just crypto as a whole to go up, he saw this, I think, pivoted a little bit to say like, hey, why not throw this ingredient in there too? And the key here is Pump.fun. Those tokens are all tied in liquidity to stable coins. So what he's saying here is tying it with native liquidity instead of a stable coin, enticing them to buy native tokens like Ethereum or PulseChain instead of stable coins. Then it's handy for them to have an easy site like Pump.tires to be able to do so. Not a fan of the name, by the way. If you prefer, celebrities or communities launch their coins on your chain and buy your native instead of someone else's chain and their native coin. It's real handy to have code templates like Pump.tires code to be able to do so. Do you prefer the next massive coin launch on the chain that you love or somewhere else? People should appreciate the hard work of others provided to them for free. Well done, Pump.tires dudes, whoever they may be. Yeah, so what do you make of this? And that's really him. I mean, obviously, to me, it's clear what it is. I mean, he wants to bring more volume to the chain. He's got that. PulseChain has become a top 4 chain in volume in the world now. After this, we've seen that happen, and it's burning away lots of pulse and making the supply more scarce. And I think it's overall net good. I mean, I never thought anything negative about it. I know some people did at first, and they've come to an understanding now. But there's still people out there that are just like, he's lost the plot. What's this guy doing? I don't understand that take at all. I mean, he's not advocating, I don't think, for like go buy a bunch of memes or whatever.
No,
but yeah,
but
I think this is good. But what do you think?
Well, I think so. When we look at let's actually share this instead, and we'll see how it works.
There you go.
This is the features, right? So, a couple different things. There is the tie to PulseChain. All right. So when you launch a coin, it immediately ties the bonding curve to Pulse, right? As the price increases according to the curve, obviously, it says when the coin reaches the end of its bonding curve, it automatically then launches on Pulse X. This isn't what I thought I saw earlier. Here it is. Pump.tires code feature is a unique burn mechanism where coins can be burned for a portion of the underlying pulse before it graduates to Pulse X. So, in my opinion, I think what he thought was the Pulse chain wasn't, you know how Ethereum became somewhat deflationary as far as fees go, those type of things where it was actually not minting as much as it was using per day. So thus becoming deflationary. Well, I think it wasn't moving fast enough. PulseX already has an incredible buy and burn function where we've burned I mean, I already closed that window, but probably 6 trillion tokens already since its launch. I think this just amplifies the Pulse side of things to burn more of those, because on Solana, the mechanism that's used, those tokens that are burned here actually get paid to the platform people over there, and then they just end up dumping that Solana on the market. So that's the big difference between the two. This one burns it instead of paying it out to the creator, and thus helping price eventually. A burn function isn't going to help your price immediately. It's going to take time for that to happen, to slowly reduce the supply, things like that, where it does become eventually more rare. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a great feature. That it's just one more thing to burn more tokens. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree 100%. I mean, like, I'm not interested in the platform. I know you speculated whether you want to talk about this or not, that you may have bought a certain token on there today, and it's not on there, but one of the tokens that was launched from there. Yeah, I definitely think it's a net positive. I understand people being like, "What is this?" I mean, I didn't expect this. I did not have this as part of the plot that all of a sudden we would see Richard tweet about this on Saturday night. I did not expect this whatsoever. I didn't expect it to be called Pump.tires.
Was not on your bingo card?
No, it was not. I hate saying that because so many people say that phrase, so I purposely didn't say that. But yeah, it's just it's interesting. It's a very interesting development. I think that it is good, though. I mean, it's more activity on the chain, and I think we'll get away from it. I mean, I think this is going to help pump the core tokens, and we're going to see everything start to come back into core tokens. So, yeah. So there's another interesting development kind of about this that I wanted to talk to you about. So we have sorry, I'm just trying to catch up because there's so many things happening. So let me see. We already talked about how this can work better than Solana's with the liquidity being tied to Pulse. Oh, and the main thing here that everybody started to talk about. Well, here, let me see what this tweet is you put up. You could
Oh,
probably
this
think of
is
a
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so this is RH the other day. You can probably think of a recent coin launch that murdered the price of nearly all other coins across the chains. When coins that launch are tied to stable coins for liquidity, people must trade their Sol for stable to buy the new coin. This murders the Solana price. And if other chains bring in Solana to buy it, it murders the price of the other chains that bridge in to swap for the new coin with liquidity and stable coin. Thus, if you prefer native coins to go up, then new coins should have liquidity in native coins instead of stables. When people launch new coins that you can only get by buying native first, because that's what their liquidity is in, it gives people reasons to buy the native. Pump.tires does it better. So, I mean, I definitely think that is awesome, and I'm totally in favor of it. And the other thing that we kind of already drummed on this tonight, but it was in my notes. The other thing people started to bring up is how confident is he that this case is over? I mean, you don't do something like this. I mean, he's already been talking like very bullishly and feeling very good about things, but to do something like this and launch. So we haven't talked about the actual token very much yet, but to launch the most token, which is literally a picture of his face from the Interpol Red Notice. The banner on Deck's screener is him with whatever that weird ass outfit is he had on, where he has like an old timey like woman's bonnet on or something that I guess was stylish somewhere once. With
Burberry.
jail, yeah, Burberry with a jail cell on him. It's a great. I mean, it is a fantastic meme. It's fucking awesome, and I mean, it's a gigantic fu. I mean, you do not do something like that if you're not feeling pretty good, I would say. So, yeah, I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, to me, the guy seems to have no doubts whatsoever about what's happening. I just don't know what exactly he knows that we don't, and when the timeline for this event is. That's all, you know.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's got to be somewhat confident in something. You know, I was saying to you the other day when we heard this stuff coming out, I'm like, he's got to know something, or his lawyers really think something, in order for him to come out like this or whatever. You know, some of the wallets are obviously being traced or speculated back to him anyway. He's talking great things about it, but then, you know, at the top, it says, warning, Pump.tires hasn't and will not have an official social media account. Anyone pretending to be Pump.tires on social media is an imposter. So, you know, this is where you and I are at total odds, because
and there's been a development as we've been speaking, but go ahead.
Yeah, I saw you sent it to me, I think. So, you know, your opinion is that he's got to be the one behind the X account that is Pump.tires. And I'm spotting some things in some of these tweets that I think Richard's probably smarter than that. He knows the difference between there, which is their possession, and there over there.
He has typos all the time. He has typos in his tweets all the time because he's just firing stuff off.
There are other things, little things that I've noticed just with spelling, punctuation. It's just Richard's very, very intelligent. And unless he's doing it on purpose, which I don't think he does, I don't think it's him. I don't think it would be that hard to study Richard's tweets, go back and see how he's talking about this coin, and write a completely different tweet about another coin and speak in a very similar method. And, you know, in fact, well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about what you just sent me here.
Well, okay. Well, first off, I feel like we have to set it up a little bit more. So right at the top of the Pump.tires website, it says that there's no official Pump.tires. I don't know why you would put this on there, because it's not on any of the Hex pages or PulseChain pages or PulseX pages about anything to do with it. But on Pump.tires, there's actually something at the top, a huge banner that says there's no official Pump.tires account. Whoever they are, an imposter, blah, 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 which I find odd. Why would you even do that? I mean, this whole thing's been odd since the moment that he announced it on Twitter Saturday night. So every step of the way, it's been odd. He's been tweeting about it nonstop, talking about all the benefits of it. And then, so there was a couple of different Pump.tires accounts. This one is the one that had garnered actual traction and is also at Pump.tires win, which is interesting. It's garnered up to 3,000 followers now. I've been following it. And to me, it has comments turned off. It follows one person, which is Richard Hart. the tweets to me sound a lot like Richard Hart tweets, like a lot. And I'm not somebody who cooks shit up out of his own mind usually. I think that it echoes things that he's been saying. It's talking in the first person. It sounds very similar to things that RH has been saying. And right whenever the 7-day gigantic hex stakes were created earlier today, it started tweeting, oh, in a week from now, something, I think something pretty good is going to happen. Now, Sami just now, which I would expected him to be on my side of this. I don't know, but he just tweeted, Pump.tires website says it does not have an official social media account, which again, I think is part of the reason that it could actually be him potentially. And he asks, is this account real or fake, and tags them. And then below, Sami gets even dirtier with it if you scroll down and says, please report this fake scammer account as there is no official one. Evil scam and will do rugs soon. I'm even convinced that like maybe Sami thinks that it could potentially be RH and is trying to see what he can get out of this. I don't know. I don't know what he's trying to get. I mean, I haven't been seeing them launch anything. All they've been doing has been promoting the coins, and basically talking exactly like Richard Hart is what I've been seeing. And you and I are total 180 on total disagreement on this. I guess people go check it out for yourselves. So there's the account. Like just looking at some of the tweets, I mean, I think it sounds exactly like him. I just do. If you scroll down to some actual tweets or anything.
Well, yeah, but if you scroll down to some of the earlier,
you can read them when you go that fast.
Well, hang on, I know, but when you go back to some of the original tweets, this person realized and forgot to turn comments off at first, which is a big mistake. Why they wouldn't do that, I don't think. If they were who you think they are, that person has been tweeting forever with comments turned off. It wouldn't have been a mistake. And then all of a sudden, well, I think maybe it was probably after Corey called him out and said, "Hey, are you going to do this?"
Of course, Corey. Why? Why would you, that is just.
Anyway,
I love Corey, but sometimes
why
would you do that?
So then, continues to leave comments on, continues, and then all of a sudden, now they're turned off. So I don't know. I don't think that mistake would have been made at first.
Maybe he was seeing more stuff like what Corey did, which I can't believe he did. I never saw that, but read that. This one seems to be a lot of you guys' favorite. Day 3. I wonder what day 7 will look like. Cool stuff. This is what he's been saying. This is how he's been tweeting exactly.
It's not hard to tweet like.
And
Richard.
then the PDA. Oh my God.
It's not hard.
Why would I don't understand why somebody would copy his exact style. And then
are you kidding me?
And then they tweet the PDI one today. They tweet the PDI chart exactly the way that Richard Hart has been with a percentage gain so far. Hey, ETH bros. He says ETH bros all the time. Yeah. I think he's just tweeting. I think that he's trying to deliver some messaging to people that he knows that he can't deliver as himself, and is doing it through this vehicle. And he's not, nothing specific is being said. It's just kind of alluding to some things. And I would understand not wanting to do it from your own account. And I would understand calling everybody an imposter that has this kind of account on your site because you don't want anybody to think that it's you. So I'm sticking to it. I'm willing to look like a fool. I will totally, come on here and eat crow. I will put a bird on a plate and eat it next week.
There's no need to do that. And I don't know that we'll ever find out. Like nobody, unless somebody comes out and says, "Yeah, this is me. I've been doing this," which I think is what's going on. Obviously they only follow Richard, which makes it, somebody knows what they're doing, obviously, to run this account. But I just don't think it's Richard. I don't think it's him doing this.
Okay. No, it seems like it to me. I guess it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
It sounds a lot like to me. I was intrigued though that Sami went on there and just said that. Yeah, DJ and Moonboy's with me. Yeah, and I'm not somebody who usually lost Ewok. Not sure what happened there. I usually don't cook stuff like that up on my own, but yeah, that's just what I am feeling on that one. So I don't know what happened to Ewok there. Let me see. Oh, here he is already. You back?
Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry.
That's all right. I thought maybe your computer rebooted or something, but DJ Moonboy's with me. Yeah. I mean, it just seems odd to me. Like the phrasing and the typing, it seems odd to me. So
I got pissed and left.
yeah.
I had to curse a little bit and then I came right back.
Yeah. Well, it remains to be seen. We will see. Either way, that account, along with Richard, both thinks that things are going to be positive here over the next week. I think it just tweeted again 10 minutes ago. It said, some can't help but self-sabotage. When you see someone helping you, you should accept the help and help them help more. This is, I'm telling you, I don't understand. Oh, man. I mean,
Wait, what? Who tweeted?
That was Pump.tires. And let me guess, you were thinking, oh, that must have been Richard. No, there's your test. That's like the little contest where you have 2 cups with some brown drink in it, and you're like, hey, Coca-Cola or Pepsi? It's like, oh, I've been drinking Pepsi for 30 years. I'm going to know. And then they get it wrong. That's you right now. Okay? So, yeah, that's how I feel about it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So,
some can't help but self-sabotage. When you see someone helping, you should accept the help.
Yeah.
Period. And help. Yeah, see that sentence is not Richard.
Oh my God, man.
He wouldn't start a sentence with the ampersand. Listen.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
It doesn't really matter, I guess. Doesn't really matter. Yep. DJ Moonboy gets it. Yep. Taste testing. Yeah. I guess you haven't tasted Richard enough, Ewok. That's all I have to say. So
no thanks.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess we can move on from this. But yeah, overall, Pump.tires, I think clearly a positive. I mean, I don't really care about it myself, in terms of getting involved, but I do think it'll bring eyes to the chain and stuff like that. And you've got people out there. I mean, like I've seen, we all know Martin on Twitter, storyteller. Yeah. I mean, he's just Hex is the king. It's the daddy. Nothing's gonna blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, I mean, it's like that whole geeky thing that I say in our intro that markets, tend to become efficient over time and all that shit. I mean, if a market is saying that I want to buy PopCat, which they're not now they're selling it like crazy and all of Morad's coins are dead, that's what they're going to do. So, I mean, I understand it. You can think one thing, but markets tend to become efficient over time. So that's what I say. Anyway, do you have any final thoughts on that at all, Ewok?
Nope.
All right.
Nope. You're wrong.
Okay. Well, agree to disagree, like you said earlier today. I guess it's an interesting saga, especially now that Zombie's calling to report them. So I'll be really interested to see where we get after that.
I am anxious to see how this part plays out. Maybe that was part of the thing. There's a lot of people saying one thing, it's not him. A lot of people saying, well, it is him. So let's report it and see what happens.
Yeah. I'm finding out I'm the minority in this one, actually. I didn't think I would be, but everybody on that Zombie tweets like, yeah, it's a scammer and stuff like that. So I don't know. Anywho, boy, that was such a whirlwind. I'm not even sure where to go after that. Blah, 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 blah. We talked about that Eric Trump stuff and the taxes already. What should we finish off on here? I mean, we've got a few other things. Should we have a quick tax discussion, or do you want to talk about the Hex stake penalties that Shill Gates was tweeting about a couple of weeks ago? Which
I think that's pretty much played itself out.
Well, the Shill Gates part has, but just so people understand it. But yeah, we can talk about taxes, whatever you want to do.
I mean, I think, I think enough people know, or that watch us know, that there is a risk of ending a Hex stake extremely early.
Let's just get into it. Let's get into it because so a couple of weeks ago, Shill Gates, and I get it, like he's newer to the ecosystem and stuff, and we probably do, as people that have been involved with Hex for a few years now, take for granted that, and I think you may have just taken it for granted, Ewok, and I probably do too, that you were about to say, like, our viewers know this and everything. Maybe as we get into this bull market, people don't like that. Hex staking, whether short, long term, whatever. what makes it different than other staking mechanisms. Like in other ones, you could be dealing with middlemen, you could be dealing with other sorts of DeFi that's more like a liquidity providing, where you can just pull out your principal at any time and collect the fees that you earn or whatever it is. But hex staking is a specific smart contract that you can decide on how many days that you stake it, up to 5,555. And you get bonuses for the bigger the total hex stake is and the longer that you stake it. Now, I don't know all the details within that, and Ewok could speak to them better than me. He could speak better to the T-shares and stuff. But I do know that if you unstake early, is it anything before the halfway mark that the whole stake is nuked, right? Like, you don't just lose your interest, you lose the principal. And I've just known, like, anytime I've made a hex stake in my entire history, because I understood that what it was, I have known that is gone, like, until I'm unstaking it. Like, I'm not ever planning on unstaking that.
Yep.
So
anyway. the rule is the more days you serve, the more of your principal you get back, up unto 50% of the time served, which 50% does equal 100% of your principal that was originally staked. Now, there are different rules for under 90 days, I believe, not 180 days. There are different set of rules for that, because halfway is 90. Yeah, there's a different set of rules if it's a short-term stake. But either way, just know that if you don't at least serve 50% of your time, you are going to lose principal. If you don't serve, I think, a quarter of your time, you're going to lose all of it. At 25% is when I think the principal starts to kick in, that you do earn some of the principal back. But if you don't make it to 50%, you are losing all the yield that you got, all the big payday bonus. If there was any of that, you lose all of that. That's all gone. It's funny. You can wait 99.99% of the stake. If you don't fulfill that, you do lose that big payday bonus too. So you have to serve the full one to get the big payday. If you had staked before day 365, or 361, or whatever day it was, when the big payday bonus ended, you have to serve the full term, or you lose all of that bonus. As far as the yield that you go, the daily yield, after 50%, you will get some of that. But yeah, if you don't serve it, and I can understand why he felt it was, I didn't like the word he used, because I think
that's what I was just going to say. Yeah.
It was the way it was worded, where he said it was predatory.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
And that was a very bad way to put it. Either way, this is all gone. I mean, this is old news, that whole thing. But people must understand the contract that they're making before they do it. They really should understand the rules. If you look up the layman's guide, it's out there. It gives the formula, it gives the rules. And then if you early unstake, there's a big warning that pops up, boom, on your screen, if you're using the Hex protocol. Now, if you end it on another one, say you use the Icosa app, or I think Maddie's the tshare app.tshare.app or whatever it is.
I have it somewhere.
Yeah, I have it too. I think there's a warning on that one as well. But at least it pops up if you try to early end stake. It says, please know what you're doing and know the outcome before making this decision. And unfortunately, people don't read. And I guess there's one way to learn, and that's to really screw up and lose whatever you decided to lose because you didn't pay attention. It sucks, but the mechanism works that way because it rewards the people that do, right? So it's not, 50% of it goes to all the stakers. The other 50 goes to the OA, which we can consider that burnt or whatever, staked now, if they're going to start staking that all. So yeah, it's just a matter of knowing what you're doing and paying attention to the rules. So that's what that really comes down to. And again, unfortunately, the wording was off, and I think that's why people got really bent out of shape about it. But is what it is.
I understood, and yeah, I don't care as much about the shill gates part of it, but I do think it may be important to like actually approach like how the staking mechanism works, because we probably do take it for granted. Like last cycle, all there was Hex, and there were plenty. I mean, all that was going on were people out there teaching you how to do hex stakes, or how maybe you could set them up, or what a staking ladder is. That stuff's not out there now. Like
Right.
we're just not making that content anymore because there's a blockchain now. There's liquidity providing. There's PulseX now. This goddamn meme cycle. There's all these other distractions. So some of the education isn't there, and we as people that have just been in the ecosystem for years now, like I cannot sit here and tell you every aspect of the hex staking system anywhere near like you or a Crispy Man or an Axis could. I definitely can't. But one thing I know and have known for sure since the beginning is that if I make a stake, that I made the stake. I'm not ending the stake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless obviously, people have like weird random emergencies or whatever, unless it's something absolutely life threatening, there's no way I'm going to touch that. You know what I mean?
The only time I can recommend that is gone. It has gone and passed. There was one time where early unstaking was the right thing to do for a lot of people, and that was before the big payday. For those who had staked for 200 days or whatever, they had served over half of it. They got their principal back, and they decided to put it out longer. That was probably a right move because of the big payday bonus and the more T-shares that they got at that point. Remember, early on, Hex started, one T-share was 10,000 Hex per T-share. And now we're up over 40,000. It's quadrupled since then, at least. So it's gotten much tougher to accumulate them. You have to put them out longer and longer. There was only one time in my mind. Obviously, everybody has a different situation. Emergencies come up. I get it. You do what you've got to do. You just understand the ramifications of it. That's all that we ask. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. The stakes that I've made, no reason to early end stake them. If you do a ladder, there's no reason you should have to. You always will have one coming out. So, yeah.
That's really the key. Yeah. The planning the end at the beginning. You know what I mean? Like and that's the other thing, like I'm sure Showgates probably didn't know a lot about like hex staking ladders. A lot of people advocated for that, like not staking 100% of your hex holdings, maybe doing half of them and then having a 10 to 15 year staking ladder, do one once a year, twice a year, once a quarter, whatever it is. I mean, there's so many ways to do it that we've talked about for years now. And I think it's just a product of, a relatively big account on Twitter that's within PulseChain now being new to the ecosystem. I did have a problem with him calling it predatory. I don't think there's any, who's encouraging it. Like, yeah, I don't see anybody rubbing their hands together like Mr. Burns in the corner, hoping that, you lose all your money. I do agree with him on this. He was talking about like, it was gross. Like sometimes when you see the people celebrating somebody nuking a stake, I mean, I can kind of understand that because you don't know what that person's life predicament is. Who knows, what they are. It's nice to be able to earn their yield or whatever. But like, I kind of get that, like calling them idiots and all that. I mean, that I can understand.
On the flip side of that, what if somebody's account got hacked? Somebody tried to emergency end stake and that hacker got nothing.
True. Yeah, that is true.
Guess who got it? All the stakers. So, so I can see in that situation somebody rooting for it and saying, "Ha, here we go." Right. You hacker, you didn't know what you were doing either.
You just paid us. Yeah.
Yeah, you paid us. Thanks.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, I would root for it. But obviously, you're right. If somebody did make a mistake, and well, it sucks, but it's the rules, and it's a smart contract, and you can't change it. So.
And Crypto 7 kind of summed it up here. It's common sense that outlandish yield requires outlandish early end stake penalty. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, maybe the exact parameters that, you can't necessarily figure out on your own, but yeah, it does make sense that it's not just put your money in, earn yield, and pull it out at any time. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, if you set something up for a 15-year stake, expecting that you're going to just be able to pull out the principal at any time, I mean, that's not what it is. I mean, I don't know. I am never a fan of anybody running to the victim and playing the victim mindset. I mean, if you make a stake like that without understanding what you're doing, it's your own fault. I mean, it just
Yep.
is. And there's plenty of resources out there. I mean, like,
Yeah.
literally just go. I mean, Frank Molina said this is how he discovered Hex back in the day, just looking up DeFi, yield and staking and stuff like that. Just look up Hex staking for beginners, or like how, like, and I just posted, that was a great resource that you mentioned, Ewok, the Hex staking layman's guide. I just posted that in the chat. I mean, it's extremely comprehensive. You could not read this. I mean, you'll never understand it all, and I don't care to, but the main points are all there for you. So
everything's there. Plus, all we have to do is say Crypto Coffee. Go to his channel.
Yes,
all that stuff is there. Hexologist has all that stuff there. Like, go back, just look up that Hex staking. There's plenty of videos out there, and yes, there is no live streaming on it anymore because there are so many things, but they're out there. Like, the resources are there, and it hasn't changed because it is a locked smart contract. It's the same. It will always be the same. So
nothing's changed. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably the best recommendation. Go to like Crypto Coffee or Hexologist from like 2020, 2021 or something, and you will be able to find, because that's when everybody needed to know about it. I mean, that's when people were out there, like, creating content and letting people know how the whole thing works and doing tutorials. So yeah, I would encourage anybody to check that out. And I figure that, I don't know what's up the OA's sleeve when it comes to Hex right now with these gigantic stakes that they created today. But, we will probably have people coming back wanting to know about staking Hex again and doing that in the bear market and things like that as well. So, yeah. But yeah, I did think that it wasn't so much the Shill Gates part, but I thought it was a good conversation to get back to, like, what does happen when you make a Hex stake like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. We talk about taxes a little bit later when we get closer to April 15th, maybe.
I agree with you, because there's a lot of. I understand what DJ Moonboy said earlier, that it's boring. I actually don't think it is, because I mean, and maybe he was just being facetious, but like, I mean, maybe boring, but necessary. Like, you likely are going to need this, whether you're being proactive and making sure that your crypto taxes is right, especially after what could be coming this year. Versus, make it not only that, but making sure that you retain the most amount of money possible. And there's a lot of people out there talking about different products to do that. But go ahead.
That being said, I do want to offer a tip, and you kind of fought me on this for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And I had told you, I said, every Saturday I'll go in, I'll do a couple things. I use Coinly. I will go through my transactions and make sure that they're categorized correctly and that they're all right, because 8-9 months down the road, I'm not going to remember what I did that day or what it was, or if it's categorized the wrong way, if it's a purchase or a deposit instead of a swap, because they are classified differently, and the way that you can save on some things and how you classify them is important. So I do recommend, depending on how many transactions that you do, is go in, sync your wallet to something like that, and just make sure the right categories in there. So when that time of year comes, you don't have to go through a whole year's worth of transactions trying to figure out what the hell you did 9 months ago, 10 months ago. It gets a little confusing. So that's my advice to people who want to, keep track of it on time and easily.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. And because every year it's a goddamn disaster. Like, we'll talk about it, but yeah, Coinly is definitely our preferred tax platform. Neither of us get paid by them. We probably get a discount code every year because there's usually one widely available, but I've never even tried anything else, so I can't speak to anything else, but it is extremely efficient. Yes, there are corrections that you're going to need to make, and it will not find every single thing, but you simply import your wallet. It'll do a wallet scan. It's even got that integrated even better with exchanges now. Like, I'm done using Coinbase because of what 0x Coast has, invented. But with Coinbase, I mean, you can import an API and they will just like sync Coinbase. So doesn't even have to be just your personal wallets. Even the exchange you're on, they'll be able to just sync as well. The harder part is getting in there and labeling different transactions, like you said, like making sure a deposit's a deposit. And we're starting to get too into it, I guess, now. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. Going in there, maybe not once a week, but once a month or something, and updating things throughout the year. Because if you're like me or a super degen or something like that, you're going to have a ridiculous amount of transactions at the end of the year, and you're not going to have any idea what it was. And it could be just something as easy as like adding liquidity, pulling liquidity, ending a hex stake, but that stuff adds up. And you're right, Ewok. Like, you will not. I can't remember what I did 8 months ago in crypto. It's just too much. So anyway. Okay, well, hey, this was a hell of a stream. I think we had a lot of good stuff to talk about. Some crazy things going on in the market. We got these huge hex stakes from the OA. Lots of things to be excited about over the next week. Will we get more crypto regulation changes? Will the case be dropped by the SEC? Will we find something out from Judge Carroll? I don't know. We're all just kind of waiting. Ethereum is still $2,800. I'm gonna have to check the ICOSA price when we get off air because everybody's been saying that it is ripping right now. So I'll just check it right now while we're still here. I'm sure it's gonna be the highest coin on my. It's basically up there with Hex. Yeah, eHex is still up 60% for the day. The ICOSAs are both 25 and 40% up. So that is nice. Maybe we hear from Alex McWhirter here at some point about whatever the heck's going on.
Yeah, we have that V2 to look forward to. He said at the beginning of the year he was still working on it, and we got that coming. Don't forget, ICOSA is a derivative play on Hex still. So when Hex runs, so does ICOSA. So should Hedron.
Yeah, I was gonna say so should. Yeah, exactly.
And Hedron's having a nice little. There's a couple nice candles there too. So
okay, yeah, it's been a bit of a hot mess for a little while, but yeah, it's moving. It's 20% up. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, we appreciate all you guys. DJ Moonboy, Trev Newman, Crypto 7, RH Max, Archie S, Valiant Low Key, Checks My Pulse, put in the Audio Slave lyrics earlier to I Am the Highway. I appreciate that. I love that song. Arrow Point, appreciate all you guys being here tonight. We do this every Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be back here next week. Hopefully some even more bullish, wild, crazy, weird-ass news to report because we definitely didn't assume any of the stuff we talked about tonight would be talking about here. So we will see you guys then. For Crypto Ewok, has been Broke Boy Crypto right here on the Creed of Crypto.
See ya.